Dick Van Dyke, the legendary actor and entertainer known for his timeless performances in classic films, once had the opportunity to step into one of the most coveted roles in cinema history. James Bond, the suave British secret agent created by Ian Fleming. At the age of 99, Van Dyke has looked back on this pivotal moment in his career, revealing why he ultimately turned down the chance to portray the debonair 007 on the big screen. This revelation came during a heartfelt and humorous interview where he reflected on the paths not taken in his extraordinary life in Hollywood. The offer came directly from Albert "Cubby" Broccoli, the renowned producer behind the James Bond franchise. Broccoli had previously collaborated with Van Dyke on the beloved family musical Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was adapted from a children's book written by none other than Ian Fleming himself, the very author who penned the James Bond novels. This connection made the proposition even more intriguing. After Sean Connery, the original and iconic Bond, decided to step away from the role following several successful films, the search for a new actor intensified. Broccoli, remembering Van Dyke's charm, energy, and star power from their prior work together, approached the American actor with the question: would he like to take on the mantle of James Bond? Van Dyke recalled the moment vividly. "Cubby came to me and said, 'Would you like to be Bond?'" he shared. Without hesitation, Van Dyke's response was swift and self-deprecating. He quipped, "Have you heard my British accent?" This light-hearted joke highlighted what Van Dyke saw as his biggest obstacle: his unmistakable American accent and style, which clashed with the quintessentially British sophistication that defines James Bond. The character, after all, is a polished MI6 agent with a posh demeanor, dry wit, and an impeccable English inflection, traits that Van Dyke humorously admitted were far removed from his own persona. Beyond the accent, Van Dyke pondered how audiences would react to such a casting choice. Having built his career on wholesome, comedic roles in films like Mary Poppins, where he played the lovable Bert alongside Julie Andrews, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, where he portrayed the eccentric inventor Caractacus Potts, Van Dyke worried that fans might not accept him in a gritty, action-packed spy thriller. James Bond is known for high-stakes espionage, glamorous gadgets, exotic locations, and a license to kill, elements that stood in stark contrast to Van Dyke's family-friendly image. He imagined the potential backlash or confusion from viewers who associated him with chimney sweeps dancing on rooftops or magical flying cars rather than martinis shaken, not stirred, and battles against international villains. In retrospect, Van Dyke acknowledged that taking on the role could have been an incredible adventure and a massive boost to his already illustrious career. It would have allowed him to showcase a different side of his acting range, perhaps delving into drama, action, and romance in ways he hadn't before. The James Bond series was exploding in popularity during that era, with films like Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger cementing the franchise as a global phenomenon. Stepping into Connery's shoes would have meant worldwide fame on an unprecedented scale, endless merchandising opportunities, and a legacy tied to one of pop culture's most enduring icons. Yet, Van Dyke harbors no regrets about his decision. He describes these kinds of missed opportunities as sliding doors moments, those forks in the road where one choice leads to an entirely different life trajectory. In his view, turning down Bond allowed him to continue pursuing roles that aligned more closely with his strengths: comedy, music, dance, and heartfelt storytelling. His career has spanned decades, from early television success on The Dick Van Dyke Show, which revolutionized sitcoms with its clever writing and physical comedy, to memorable film appearances and even a late-career resurgence with roles in Night at the Museum and the reboot of Mary Poppins Returns. At nearly 100 years old, with a birthday approaching on December 13th that will mark a full century, Van Dyke remains active, gracious, and reflective. This anecdote also sheds light on the casting process for James Bond, which has always been a topic of fascination. After Connery's departure, the role went to George Lazenby for one film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, before Roger Moore took over for a long and successful run. Imagining Van Dyke as Bond opens up fun what-if scenarios. Would his version have been more humorous, incorporating song and dance elements? How might the franchise have evolved with an American in the lead during the height of the Cold War era? These questions add to the allure of Hollywood's untold stories. Van Dyke's humility shines through in sharing this tale. Rather than boasting about the offer, he uses it to poke fun at himself, endearing him even more to fans. His British accent attempt, often lampooned in Mary Poppins where he played the elderly Mr. Dawes Sr. with a comically exaggerated Cockney twang, became one of the film's most memorable gags. It's no wonder he doubted his ability to convincingly pull off Bond's refined eloquence. As Van Dyke approaches his centennial, his career serves as an inspiration. From vaudeville roots to Broadway stages, television stardom, and film classics, he has entertained generations with his boundless energy and optimism. Turning down James Bond wasn't a misstep, it was a choice that kept him true to his artistic identity. In a town full of reinventions, Van Dyke stayed authentically himself. A dancer, a comedian, a singer, and a beloved figure who chose joy over espionage. Reflecting further on his life, Van Dyke has often spoken about the importance of laughter and positivity. In interviews over the years, he's credited his longevity to staying active, both physically through dance and mentally through engagement with the world. Missing out on Bond allowed him more time for personal pursuits, family, and projects that brought him genuine happiness. He's authored books, advocated for causes, and even returned to television in recent years with guest appearances that delight old and new fans alike. The story of Dick Van Dyke and James Bond is more than just a fun fact. It's a testament to knowing one's strengths and limitations. In an industry that often pressures stars to take every big opportunity, Van Dyke's decision highlights the value of authenticity. Had he accepted, the Bond franchise might look very different today. Who knows if the series would have maintained its British essence or veered into new territory. Ultimately, Van Dyke's legacy is secure without the tuxedo and Walther PPK. He's the man who made us believe a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, who flew kites with magical nannies, and who continues to spread cheer at an age when most have long retired. As he blows out 100 candles soon, fans around the world celebrate not what could have been, but the incredible career that was. His witty rejection of Bond reminds us that sometimes, the roles we turn down define us just as much as the ones we embrace. In Van Dyke's case, it kept him as the eternal optimist, dancing through life with a smile.